In the book of Genesis lies a tragic story of two brothers, Cain and Abel. Now, before this story came the fall of mankind with Adam and Eve. They once lived with God in paradise and without sin, but because of their pride and desire to be their own gods, they were deceived and turned away from Him. So now they live in exile, banished from the Garden of Eden, still with God, but now evil has entered the world. So Adam and Eve have to start their family outside of paradise. Their children come into the world, but the sinful nature of Adam and Eve has now been passed down. And what comes next is a tragedy that has been repeated for all of human history. This is the tragic story of Cain and Abel. Adam and Eve had been banished from Eden, and their downfall had made life very difficult. However, the love of God had not left them. Adam and Eve became intimate. They had their first child and named him Cain. Later, they had a second child and named him Abel. As the two grew into manhood, Cain worked hard in the fields, growing food and crops for the family, while Abel tended to the livestock as a shepherd, raising and caring for the sheep. Cain and Abel are the first to grow up in a world now full of imperfection, sin, and distance from God. As time passed, both children grew up in this new world, and it came time for Cain and Abel to bring offerings to God. Now, back in those days, you would show your love and devotion for God by bringing Him gifts and laying them on an altar. So, Cain brought some of the fruits of his labor, some grains, vegetables, and other vegetation. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock, a lamb. Abel brought the very best of what he had, and as the two approached the altar, Abel raised up his little sheep and killed it before God. This showed great sacrifice to the Lord, not just as a sacrifice of materials, but a sacrifice of the heart. Because of this, God was pleased and accepted Abel's offering. But when it came to Cain's offering of some grains and vegetables, God rejected it, knowing that it did not truly come from any real love at all. This enraged Cain, and jealousy gripped Cain's heart. Hatred filled his eyes, and Cain's face gave away his true feelings. God noticed this, and He asked Cain, "Why are you so angry?" Even though he knew exactly what the issue was. "If you do well, will you not be accepted?" God asked. "But if you don't do well, then you'll give more room for hatred and sin to rule in your heart. Do not let hate rule over you. You can overcome it." But Cain didn't listen. Anger and hatred had already won him over, and there would be no stopping the evil and sin that he was about to commit. Cain called over his brother into the fields, and once Abel's back was turned, Cain unleashed all the hatred, jealousy, and rage onto his brother. Blow after blow, Cain unleashed his wrath and spited God by murdering his innocent brother. His hands stained red, dripping with the blood of his brother, and he walked off, acting if nothing had happened at all. God, already knowing what Cain had done, asked him, "Cain, where is your brother Abel?" Now, this was the time for Cain to admit to his wrongdoing and take responsibility for his actions. However, Cain replied, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" This enraged God. God is the creator of life, and Cain had just taken an innocent one and then lied about it. "What have you done?" God said. "The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground, and now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. From now on, when you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." Now, this punishment was fitting. Because Cain had taken a life, God wanted his life to be very difficult. But Cain said to God that this punishment was far too great, and that if he's a wanderer, whoever finds him will surely kill him. But fortunately for him, God's mercy is still present in punishment. God said, "If anyone kills you, vengeance shall be taken upon them sevenfold." And so he put a mark on Cain to keep anyone from doing to him what he did to his brother. The story of Cain and Abel teaches us about how destructive jealousy and sin can be. God warned Cain that sin was crouching at his door and desired to have him, but Cain gave in to it, and it led to his downfall. You see, sin is always knocking at our door, but it is up to us to resist and overcome it, for sin only leads to destruction. Another takeaway from this story is that sincerity and your heart condition is very important to God. You see, God accepted Abel's offering because he was sincere and he truly wanted to please him, showing his true love for God. While Cain's offering was rejected because, well, he didn't really care about it that much. He lacked a genuine devotion for God, a genuine love. You see, God wants us to love and trust him with a sincere heart. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe. My name is Diare, and I'll be making these mini movies on the Bible to help you understand it a little bit better. I'll be coming with the next one very shortly, exclusively on The Good Book.